Hi everyone, I'm Gwen Preston of Resource Maven. I'm here at the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto, and I'm joined by Rob McLeod of Nations Royalty, which requires a bunch of explanation because it's a brand new entity and a brand new concept. So I'm gonna hand it to you to give the first pass explanation, and then I will ask some questions.
Sure, and thanks, Gwen, and thanks for having me. Nations Royalty is going to change a lot of things in Canada, particularly with Indigenous business. The business model is starting with the Nisga'a Nation, a treated First Nation from northwestern British Columbia, and many of your readers would know the Golden Triangle.
Absolutely.
So their treaty lands cover the southern portion of the Golden Triangle. Mm-hmm. And they have 5 royalties on producing mines or development projects that are being vended into Nations Royalties for shares. And the vision is that starting with these 5, which have a net asset value of $247 million US, is where First Nations and Indigenous groups will join the company by vending in their royalties for shares. And these are royalties that are tied to benefits agreements. Any new mine that has gone into production in Canada in the past 30 years has had a benefit agreement, mm-hmm. and has only gone ahead with consultation with Indigenous people. Mm-hmm. And so there's tremendous opportunity for growth in what really has been the crown jewel of the mining space, which are the royalty companies. So.
Absolutely. So royalty companies, I mean, they've gone through their own ebb and flow since the idea was first born some 20 years ago. There's been a lot of competition for royalties. A lot of people, like you say, realized it was an amazing business model, and so then there was this rush to try and gather up royalties to put them into companies, because like you say, if you can put a bunch into a company, then you get a really nice premium on the value, on the net asset value of those royalties, to the point where it was like, well, we can't really start any more royalty companies because there aren't any more royalties out there. But there are, if you sort of can find or have the relationships to First Nations, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's the last untapped space, mm-hmm. and it is, it's a saturated market, as you say. It is the opportunity for First Nations to get that, premium to the net asset value of the royalties, mm-hmm. that the big 3, they trade at almost 2 times.
Yes.
And it is a proprietary database of over 120 target royalties just in Canada. And most of these are anonymous. Like, if you go and Google what the royalty is on the Hemlo mine or something like that, it's very difficult to find out. We've been able to, either through our relationships or reverse engineer some of these, and to be able to build this database that, it will take some time with many First Nations that are very relationship focused, mm-hmm. and are, think generationally. Mm-hmm. We think we have an opportunity to be a top 5 royalty company based on the size of the prize that's out there with Indigenous royalties. And then finally, a really, really key part, I'm obviously a white man. I grew up in Nisga'a lands, and my family has had a deep and generational, mm-hmm. relationship with a lot of Nisga'a leadership. Is that this company will be part of, and I'm not a big fan of the buzzwords, but it is economic reconciliation. Mm-hmm. Indigenous people have not been really included in capital markets for a whole variety of reasons.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is the way to get, for so many, to get a foot in the door. So, mm-hmm. this will be Indigenous-led at all levels. I'm just CEO on an interim basis. It'll be Indigenous board of directors, yeah. officers, and this capacity building component is key. Yeah. We're at your conference, a whole lot of white people like us here.
Lots.
We want to see many more Indigenous faces, mm-hmm. to be part of capital markets and to be part of this very exciting and dynamic sector.
So talk to me, let's just, with a few examples maybe, why we talk about the premium and being able to get a premium to the net asset value. So is that it for, let's run through again why nations would want to put their royalties in. If they have a cash flowing royalty from a mine like Bruce Jack, like the Nisga'a have from Bruce Jack, why do they want to put that into a royalty company? What does that do for the First Nation now and down the road?
Well, it's actually diversification even for that one mine. Like,
Yes.
you take Bruce Jack, where Nisga'a, it's one of the largest underground gold mines in Canada, and they have a royalty that is coming off of it, but they also have a second revenue stream. See, most mines pay a mineral tax.
Right, yeah.
And that mineral tax is divided between the federal government, provincial or territorial governments, and either First Nations or local communities. Like, I'm from Stewart, BC, there'd be share of that mineral tax would go to the community. And so in the case of Nisga'a, they get tax revenue sharing arrangement on Bruce Jack, and they also have the royalty stream. So you know how volatile mining can be. A big cave in at Bruce Jack and it shuts down. You can then both streams cut off.
Yeah.
You can lock in that value today. And the vision of the second cash flowing mine's coming on line in April. It's Ascot's premier mine, so it's getting close to the stage where we can start paying a dividend, and so they'll get that revenue stream back. But they'll also be able to carry forward all of that value of the assets today. And we got a hot gold market that's coming. These things can trade at multiples, and it'd be the opportunity maybe to lock in some gains down the road. But in the case of Nisga'a, they want to build a multi-billion-dollar business, and you only do that by holding. The other founding key partner is Frank Justra, and he always says that he's the founding partner of Silver Wheaton, and they came up with the concept of streaming.
Yep.
And he sure wishes that he held on to a little bit more of that stock, after they took off in the 2000s. So we really have an ideal team that's going to back it, and Frank's experience that's going to help guide and mentor, the Indigenous shareholders and leaders that will be building Nations royalty, backed by myself and the rest of the founding team.
One other factor that I like to mention when we're discussing nations is the business model. Most royalties companies need money to buy royalties. And so that ends up being a dilution treadmill risk, right? They always have to raise money in the hopes that they can buy assets that are worth more than what they raised, and so carries it on. Nations, the business model is fundamentally different, because the point is to buy royalties with shares so that you're bringing more nations into the business model. So that does seem
100%. That's it. We want other First Nations to come in as shareholders. Maybe some of them, like there's one group in Ontario that we've been having some discussions with that might want a small cash component, like 2 years worth of cash flow that they get now, and then the rest is in shares. So we don't need to have that larger cash component that either the big companies that have it on, the big three that have it on hand, or others that would have to dilute extensively to be able to get certainly quality royalties. So we're really excited about the opportunity how fast this company can grow. We're also not limited to mining. Is that there's interest in potentially, some green energy royalties that for example, hydroelectric dam that they might have a revenue stream on. Vend in a portion of that for shares, diversify, right?
Interesting. And now, just to wrap up, this is a new company. You haven't even listed yet. So if you're wondering how to buy it on the market, well, you can't quite yet. That's coming soon. You're currently doing a capital raise as part of the listing procedure. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, this is a question I asked you in the Q&A here before, but you've raised money for junior mining companies for your whole career. This is a different audience.
It is. There's the traditional gold funds, many of them have been, as beat up as a lot of the retail. Yeah. And so a lot of them don't have the cash, or they, get hung up in the details of the valuation of the royalties.
Interesting.
It is the generalists that are a little bit more on the venture capital side that are looking for new, fresh, creative ideas, are the ones that have put in in orders in the book. There's a few traditional ones, but they are the on the institutional side by far the ones that have shown the keenest interest. And then the second, it's, Frank Justra has a heck of a list of, entrepreneurs out there that get, that buy the vision. That this is a vision to be something that's different and truly special. And so the list of the retail investors that come in is an impressive list of the who's who of mining entrepreneurs in Canada. So, we'll share more once we're public, but for your readers and subscribers, important to know this isn't going to be the most liquid stock.
Right.
It's like everybody is going to buy and hold. That seems like it's coming in. So it's really been fun, and we're, again, part of the capacity building. We are working with Nishka and other Indigenous technical people and non-technical people that they're the ones going to be doing these interviews. They're going to be ones at your conference doing the hustling, and so we're really proud of that component of economic reconciliation.
It is a fantastic idea. It's super exciting, and I'm so happy to have you here, sort of presenting it on a public stage for the first time. The timing worked out really well. So congrats to you, and of course everybody who's involved. And I look forward to keeping up with Nations over the coming years.
All right, thank you, Gwen, and great to have us for our first conference.